Hi, this is the Utah Defender. I want to spend some time not on police or cities around in Utah, but I just feel like I need to get this off my chest. It's about our government. Republicans are no different than Democrats. The things we should be focusing on, and they should be doing, our legislature, is the national debt, security at the border, and energy. No one can argue with me that Joe Biden is the worst president we ever had. He's an idiot. He can't formulate sentences. And he has cognitive and physical disabilities that he shouldn't be as the president of the United States. But this is what we get. Think about when he was elected. The election was stolen, period. I don't care. There were 6 states, and they went in there. We need to have paper ballots, and we need to have people show their ID. We need to have them show their ID. And in California, a lot of you don't know it, there's a number on the bottom of your license, and that number tells you if you're a citizen or not. And there's a barcode on the back of your license, and I believe that tells you if you're a citizen or not. So there's no reason why we have anybody of these 7 million people that have crossed the border. Yeah, 7 million. They're not telling you the truth, our government. Do you want them to vote in your elections? Do you want this to be turned into the Middle East? What's going on here? I don't think so. So you have to know that Republicans and Democrats, I wrote a book, it's called Stand Up America, it has an exclamation mark, and it's by Walt English, myself. I wrote it in 2012. It'll open your eyes. Democrats and Republicans are all crooked. Almost 80% of our legislators don't do a damn thing for you. All they're doing, they go there to become millionaires. Case in point, let's take Nancy Pelosi. In 2012, 60 Minutes did a piece on her, and they said she was worth $226 million. And she got her money by insider trading. Isn't that great? Don't you wish you could do insider trading? No. But they sit on these committees, they hear where contracts are going to go or where a freeway is going to go across somebody's property, and then they jump in to reap the rewards on it. Fauci is an example. He knew all the drugs that were going to be done for AIDS, became a millionaire many times over. And he did it during COVID. And while I'm on Fauci, you need to know that there's an organization run by Tom Fenton, and it's Judicial Watch, I think is the name of it. They have proof, documentation that Fauci and Obama approached U.S. pharmaceutical companies to develop COVID. They're murderers. They're the murderers. It's not China. It's not the China virus. Obama and Fauci. And the papers are on Judicial Watch with Tom Fenton. They already got him. They went to Wuhan laboratories and they developed that. It wasn't from bats or anything else. We're the ones that caused COVID. And then they said, let's experiment and see how well we can control the citizens of the United States. And we'll see if they can use a mask. Hey, let me tell you something. Masks don't work. They've already proved that. So the next time you told her, wear a mask, civil disobedience. Tell them to go stick it. So that's something you need to know. And I'm kind of digressing, but I want to put these facts out there. Ask yourself this. The Republicans are called to Congress. What have they really done to tackle the national debt? We as citizens have to start petitions and laws and say you have to balance the budget, and pork barrel projects that look like it is ridiculous and it's not hard to identify them have to be taken out of requests for the budget, because that money is going back to the Democratic Party. Because most of the pork barrel projects that are put in the national debt, the Democrats put in there. You can go check it. Let them fight me. Let them fight you. That's why our national debt's high, and that money somehow works its way back to them. I'm telling you. These are terrible human beings that are put in positions of power, and they abuse it every damn day. When Trump came in, the national debt was like $19 trillion. It went up to 23, and now it's 33. In less than 4 years, 1/3 of the national debt has been created by Joe Biden. And if you look at Joe Biden and you listen to him, you have to ask yourself, is that the best that we have to offer the Americans, the world? So think about that. He's terrible. I can't believe that someone so stupid and inept could be the president of the United States when we have so many wonderful, great human beings that are in the United States that are citizens. The other thing I want to talk about is wars. Ask yourself this one. How many years did it take to fight World War II with our involvement? It took 4 years. That's all it took. Why were we in Afghanistan for 20? Now, being in the military, we were actually in Vietnam for 20 years, but they say 15. Okay, 15 years. Why were we in Vietnam for 15 years? You have to ask yourself that. You want to know why? It's because of your congressmen, your legislatures, and the military-industrial complex. President Eisenhower saw something that was occurring in the United States. So 3 days before Kennedy came into office, he made a speech about the military-industrial complex. Kennedy, one of the greatest major reasons that Kennedy was assassinated is because he didn't want to prolong the war. He didn't want to have a war in Vietnam. And so those people in our own government, and I'm alleging that the CIA, the guy that was the head of the CIA, I'm alleging that President George Bush, because there's a lot of information out there that directly points to George Bush, were involved in the assassination of Kennedy because he didn't want to extend that war. And when it was finally shut down by Nixon, everybody goes, "Oh, Nixon's such a terrible president. He left in disgrace." Howard Hughes is known to write a letter saying, "I want you to continue the war because I'm in the red right now, and I'll be in the black if you discontinue it. If you keep it going." Watergate, indirectly from Howard Hughes, I'm alleging all this, that Howard Hughes and other people of the military-industrial complex, like GM Motors. Let me tell you a little sideline. McNamara became the Secretary of Defense. Do you know he got rid of the Jeep in the Army and brought in his companies, I think it was General Motors, the Jeep from General Motors, and they had rollover problems with that Jeep, and hundreds, if not thousands, died because of McNamara. And they adopted that vehicle. So you got to know that the military-industrial lobbyists, they're like prostitutes as far as I'm concerned. Lobbyists is below murderers and way below prostitutes in the order of society, because all they want to do is influence and put money in the pockets of the people that they're supporting. And I'm going to tell you something. Only 0.5% during the Vietnam War, congressmen or senators' children served in Vietnam. Think about that. And they don't give a rat's ass. I'm telling you. 20 years in Afghanistan, are you kidding me? A third world country that wears rags on their head and eats goats. There's no infrastructure. They're backwards. Their religion is chaotic and cruel to humanity. And these people we fought for 20 years? Are you kidding me? Think about that. Have you stopped to think about that? We spent 20 years in Afghanistan, and it's because of people like Dick Cheney and Halliburton. All the money that they made, stuff in their pockets. They don't give a crap. And now they want to draft our daughters into the military. You people, you just go back and forth to work. It's the same reason like when I get mad at Taylorsville, the murder of Chase Allen, you people don't do a damn thing about it. I haven't heard nothing. I talk to people, they don't even know about it. And the news media has turned to be the enemy of the people because they won't report the fact that Chase Allen was not a sovereign citizen, that he complied. You watch the videos, he complied, and the gun never was exposed during the whole process. You people get what you got right now. You don't like working 2 jobs. You don't like paying high bills that our kids can't afford to have their own home. Are you kidding me? That gasoline, when Biden came in, was $2.25 a gallon, and now it's like $4.29. Are you kidding me? Think about that. It's all because of Biden. I don't care if you don't like Trump. I don't care. You go, oh, he's a nasty man. He said he really beats up people verbally. What a bunch of little children that are on the receiving end of his tongue lashings. We need a man like that because these people need to be shook up and woken up. And now they're trying to stop him from running for president through keeping him in court. That's what's going on. Now, I'm going to tell you again that you need to think about the military-industrial complex because there's stuff in the pockets of our congressmen and senators, and there's no difference between Republicans and senators. Check in my book. It's free. You don't have to pay a dime. Stand Up America by Walt English. Check it out. I have figures. Who contributes to who got what, how much they were making, the top like 20 richest senators and congressmen, and the lowest senators and congressmen. There's a lot of facts in there. You need to read that book and get angry about it. And I'm going to tell you another thing in our society that really bothers me. And you all think that they're great people. I don't like to talk bad about the dead, but Rush Limbaugh was the person that started talking about our government and what they don't do. That's a great thing. Hannity is one of them, Sean Hannity. Tucker is one of them. Of all these guys that do that, have you ever asked yourself, look, they make hundreds of millions of dollars in their career, over their career so far. And yet, they haven't done a damn thing for you, but make you angry. And what do I mean by that? Have you seen them pull their money together to give you, in a computer age, a website to go to petition our government and to move forward, getting rid of those congressmen and senators and looking at where the pork barrel projects are and all these budgets every year that they talk about? No, they don't do a damn thing to help it. And they don't want to help it because if they did, they wouldn't be making millions of dollars. The only one that puts his money where his mouth is Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck's the only one. The rest of them give you no avenue to solve your problems. Rush Limbaugh could have done it, but he didn't do it. Think about that. They were just making money. They're no better than the people they talk about. They're terrible. So, you people that are citizens of the United States, you need to start reading stuff. Who's trying to represent you? I am not affiliated with Republicans or Democrats. After I did my research in 2012, I pulled away from the Republican Party. They're worthless. They're no different than Democrats. And if you read that book, you'll find out just how worthless they are and what they do to you. And these people are we don't need women in the draft. It's hard enough to lose a companion, a friend that's a male next to you in combat. Who wants someone that represents your sister or your mother dying next to you? I don't want it. And they have to lower they want to be special forces, these women, and they want to be rangers. They had to lower the standards. I'm sorry, they did. They can't make it through that. It's too damn hard. Only young people from like 18 to about 24 are physical fit enough to make it through those courses. But they lowered the standards. They made the standards Johnny Milquetoast. And Mark Milley, as far as I'm concerned, he's a communist. He's a disgrace. He needs to get his ass out of that position. So I'm trying to get this stuff off my chest. I want you to think about what I've said. The whole system is against us. I'm sorry. Because you let it be that way. We as citizens have we got what we deserve. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And when you listen to Sean Hannity or Tucker, big damn deal. When you listen to Matt Gaetz and Taylor Greene from Florida, they're the only one. They got cojones. They have balls. They'll stand up. They have moral courage. Moral courage is what they have. There's probably maybe 20% of the Republicans that are like Matt Gaetz, that they're strong. And I don't include Jim Jordan in it. Where has there been one conviction of Clapper or Brennan for lying to Congress, or Hillary? She should be in prison. And there's like 98 bodies of curious deaths that happened because of the Clintons. I'm alleging everything I'm saying. Because you'll die trying to find out what's going on. They'll come after you. Terrible things are happening to our country because we're allowing it. This generation alive today is responsible for all the crap because you're doing nothing about it. You just keep voting for the same stupid people in there. Shake them up. Remove everybody that's in there. Move them out. Get rid of them in the next elections. Don't vote for the incumbent. I'm going to tell you something else, too, that a lot of people don't know about. General Eisenhower, when I was a little kid, I always read the newspapers, and it was always showing him playing golf, and that he vetoed another bill. I didn't know what the heck was going on. He's probably one of the best presidents we ever had, and I'm going to tell you why. And I've told people before, I have black heritage, I'm Mexican and Jewish. And I'm going to tell you that, did you ever wonder why Brown versus the Board of Education started in Kansas? It's because Eisenhower, behind the scenes, implemented that. He wanted to desegregate everything. And he knew he could start with the schools. And that's why that happened first in Kansas, because Eisenhower was behind the scenes. He was the one that came up with desegregation and civil rights laws. But everybody thinks that LBJ, who was responsible too for Kennedy's death, I'm alleging, that LBJ was the great civil rights leader. You know, Candace Owen is the only lady or only person I've ever heard that found out what I have in my book, and I wrote it in 2012. And Johnson was quoted as saying, if I sign this bill, it was like 1963, 1965, and again, it's not a nice word, but I'm going to use it because I want you to be shocked by what LBJ, everybody says, oh, he was the civil rights, Democrats are civil rights. If you've been watching the news, you know that the Ku Klux Klanners were the Democrats. And I'm going to tell you how it affected one guy that we all think is a great president. But LBJ said, if I signed the civil rights bill, and he signed it, and then he said to everybody in the room, I'll have those niggers voting for Republicans for the next 100 years, quote, quote. Think about that. The Democrats were racist, and they have came up with programs so that it imprisons the mind and spirit of the black family across the United States. They love having abortion against blacks because they don't want their numbers to rise. It's genocide. And we go around with our eyes closed and don't even think about that. Planned Parenthood is one of the worst organizations you could ever have. And a lot of their money that's donated to them goes right back into the coffers of the Democrats for their elections. It's a terrible world we live in. So I'm going to tell you about Kennedy. In 1953, he was approached with the Republicans. And by the way, the bills would have never passed if it wasn't for the majority of the Republicans. Almost every Republican voted for the civil rights bills to be signed and desegregation. It wasn't the Democrats, but you got to look at it. I can't remember if I put that in my book or not, because it's been, 11 years since I wrote it. So they approached Kennedy and he said, "Oh, I can't, because I need the vote of the Dixiecrats, who are all KKK at the time and racist, I'm alleging." And he said, "I won't ever be able to make president if I vote for that at this time." That is pretty damn sorry. He did not, he wrote Profiles in Courage, but he didn't have the courage to stand up for his convictions. These are things that have to shock you. And I'm just a normal citizen sitting out here, and I'm so sick and tired of it. I'm coming to the end of look, I'm 75, so I'm coming to the end of my life. And I got to get it off my chest. We can't draft women into the military. That's terrible. And you got to know that the military-industrial complex, as Eisenhower said in his speech, when we fought a war in Afghanistan for 20 years, you have to ask yourself, why did we fight a war for 20 years in Afghanistan? When we won World War II from start to finish with the U.S. involvement in 4 years. We took 20 years so that we could fill the pockets of our congressmen and senators and the military-industrial complex, guys like George Bush, who was president, and Cheney and Halliburton. That's the reason why it took 20 years. And they don't give a rat's ass about your children. They don't care if they got their arms blown off or anything else. I'd like to know the percentage of congressmen and citizens' children that served during those wars in Afghan and in Iraq. I'd like to know. I know Vietnam was 0.5%. Think about that. Not their kids. They're too good. You people have to start voting the incumbents out of office. And here's the problem with term limits. When you make term limits, make sure it's like maybe for congressmen, they get to serve 3 times and then they're out. And for senators, they get to serve for 2 times. I don't know if you know it, but when they made congressmen and senators, they were supposed to come from the community, serve 1 term, and then leave. And then the next person, a good citizen, would come in and do it. We have to get rid of insider trading. It's still there. We have to look at all their financials. And remember, Congress makes the laws. They won't do anything. Let me talk to you about one lady I didn't get to know very well. I sent everybody that book I'm telling you about, every congressman and senator, and it wasn't, I didn't have it proofread, and it wasn't in its final form. It was in a draft form when I sent it. And I sent it to every senator and every congressman in 2012. And I got replies back about maybe 4. One of them was Louise Slaughter. And she said, "I am interested about what you said about insider trading. I have a bill in. Do you know that bill was rejected 3 times? And when it was finally passed the 4th time, it was so watered down, it has no muscle in it. It's a real limp wrist legislation. Do you know that Louise Slaughter kept up after the passage of that one and was still trying to get the original one done? Do you know that she was found dead at the foot of her stairs in her home? I'm alleging our government killed her. That's what I'm alleging. So these are things that bother me that I want you to know. Just like COVID, there's documents that Tom Fenton from Judicial Watch got, and it shows that President Obama and Fauci, Anthony Fauci, wrote our American pharmaceutical companies to develop an end-of-function disease, and they said, no way. So they went to Wuhan. It's not China's fault that we have COVID. It's Obama's and Fauci's, and again, I'm alleging that because the documentation shows the trail. And if you don't think that Biden's guilty of selling out the United States as a traitor, you're an idiot. You need to investigate stuff like I have and read things. And not, the news media is the worst place you can go to find the truth today. And I'm going to take the opportunity to say one more time that ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News, both newspapers, I sent them a video. You can go online to Utah Defender and look at the one video that I have where I question the media. And they're more quiet than a church mouse. They never replied to me. Why? Because I'm just a citizen, just like you. So what's that tell you? They're going to treat you the same way. They don't give a crap about you, the news media, or telling the truth. They said that Chase Allen had a gun, and he did. It was between the center console and the seat, and then they committed a felony, the Farmington Police Department, because they moved that gun in their little dog and pony show to explain to you that he had a gun. Well, yeah, he had a gun. Let's see the footage where he pointed it at somebody or ever pulled it out. Let's see if the Internal Affairs goes to the phone records the day of the shooting to see who called who prior to getting up there. They were hunting him on the street. This was all a planned killing. I'm alleging. And the news media never reported the facts of the case. They said he was non-compliant. He complied with everything they asked him. He opened his door. He was getting out of the car and he was pushed back in. Why did Taylor Jacobson push him back in the car? Because he was the person to make sure that he was in the seat. So when he backed out of the car, all the police officers immediately shot him. And you can see one, camera A, right up by the windshield, shoots him. You don't see a gun pointed at anybody. You never found a gun fired. And again, we're alleging they lost the gun, the car, and the cell phone. And I went down and saw a guy named McKenzie, who's in charge of records down in Farmington. And I put a grammar request in, and I said, it's been over 10 days. Why didn't you notify me? Oh, we don't have to notify you if it's been more than 10 days. I said, well, I want to know where my grammar request is. So he goes to I guess he talked to Troy Rawlins or whoever. And he came back and says, we're not going to honor your grammar request. I said, you have to. You have to answer both of them. He goes, no, we can choose which ones if we want to answer it. Because there is a duplicity, meaning a duplication in both requests. Well, the one says in its entirety. So I went back and put another one down because I wanted to know the names of who did the internal investigation, that write their name on it. And then we're going to take them to court and sue them because they're covering up a murder of Chase Allen. And I put down that I wanted to know what happened to the gun, the car, and the cell phone in specifics. And there was another thing off the top of my head. I can't remember it right now. And he was a real smart ass, and he was talking down to me. And I said, you can't talk to me like that. I'm a citizen, and you should, and you're wrong in what you're talking about. So it got heated, and both of us raised our voice. And then he said, are you threatening me? And I said, no, I'm giving you a warning. A warning is a lot different than a threat. And he said, out. He just threw me out. These people work for us. I pay his salary. And that's how I got treated. When you go up against the government, number one, your life is in jeopardy. I'll probably end up dead, and it'll be by the Farmington Police Department, or maybe the Davis Sheriff. I don't know. But when you go up against the government, everything's against you. They have qualified immunity for the law enforcement, qualified immunity for the judges. And I'm telling you, if you hadn't already known it, everything's in their favor. Unless you people out there that's listening to this get up off your ass and get involved. I'm not going to talk nice about it because we as citizens, and I'm just as guilty, we as citizens have caused all this. We deserve the president we got. We deserve the military leaders we have. We deserve the FBI. You know, if all of you who listen would call 10 people and say, write the government and tell them we want Christopher Wray removed, we want Merrick Garland removed, we want the national debt worked on, period. We want that reduced. And under Reagan, if I'm not mistaken, there was no national debt. He was the only one to balance the budget. Think about that. Unbeknown to a lot of people, I don't know if you know it, Gerald Ford, Nixon, and the Bush family all have the same grandfather through Henry Howland. And he's my grandfather, too. I'm related to the numbnuts Bush. Both of them. Hope you like and share and subscribe to my channel. This has nothing to do with cop watching, but it does have to do to keep the accountability of our government. But these are a lot of things. I know I kind of ranted and rambled. But listen to what I said and then see if I'm wrong. Look it up. And unfortunately today, maybe Armageddon's starting in Israel when Hamas is attacked and there was 300 people initially killed. And now they're taking the bodies of children and women and they're dragging them through the streets. That's what the news reported. That could be yellow journalism to incite us. But things aren't good. And there's no such thing as climate change. It's Christ. Jesus Christ is coming back to this earth to reclaim this earth. So that's what climate change is. But they don't want to tell you. And the last thing I want to say might be repulsive to some of you, and I want you to think about this. They want to, for many years since, I can't remember the lady, she ended up disappearing, but she got prayer taken out of churches. And they gotten 10 commandments taken out of city halls and government buildings and things like that. And that's traditional things. But because it's, quote, out of the scripture, it's terrible. They get rid of the Bible. Are they getting rid of the Quran? I don't think so. But the point that I'm trying to make is I'll let it be there. I don't know if I should continue with this part right now. I guess I will. Get rid of God. Get rid of America. And that's what the Democrats are. They're communists, period. They're stinking communists, which I fought against for 20 years. If you get rid of God out of America, then you can say abortion's okay. The next thing to come down the line is going to be bestiality, where you can have sex with your dog and marry your horse, which a guy in California tried to do. I know this sounds sordid, but I'm telling you, this is where we're headed. And the next thing is going to be pedophilia, where children have the right to choose to have sex with adults. Look at Hollywood. You think I'm kidding you? I'm not kidding you. Because if you get rid of God out of our Constitution, out of our life, I hate it when I see judges, do you swear or affirm? What happened to swearing to Heavenly Father when you're sworn in? We've gone Fruit Loops. We've gone stupid. We've lost our values along the way. And besides, if we can bring down the United States, and if you believe there's an adversary, a devil, and Jesus Christ and Heavenly Father, if you bring down the United States, and it's going to happen internally from within, thanks to the Democrats, I don't like any Democrat, and I don't like Republicans because they flushed our values and everything else down the toilet. So if the United States fails, thanks to guys like George Soros, the whole world goes dark because we're the only light or protector of what's good in the world. Think about that. These are things I've wanted to say for a long time to get off my chest and really dwell on the fact, why were we 20 years in a backwards country? It was so that politicians like George Bush and Dick Cheney could fill their pockets with money. That's what it was all about. It's all about the money. They don't think about the other things. Thank you for your time. And God bless everybody. Share it with your friends. Thank you.